So the online leadership provides a unique platform for us, and we wanted to set some parameters around of how to lead an online group, um, and make it as easy as possible for you. So I've given you the most annotated version of instructions for leading online groups. I'll walk through these bullet points briefly and just give a little bit of color and context for each of these points. It is a great opportunity. We've been learning more and more. I think everyone in the world has been learning more and more about how to lead a successful online meeting or online group. And I think we're catching our stride with our prayer times and some other meetings that we're doing. And so we're just learning naturally, but we're all growing together. I appreciate, people like Keon led a great meeting the other day on Zoom security and how to make this a safe and positive environment. So I'm taking some recommendations from him as our security officer guy. And so we are using Zoom as a way of launching a series of discipleship and leadership development groups using all our materials on the Leadership Institute website. And so when you are starting a group with us where we're handling the registrations and the logistics and the Zoom platform, here are the steps for how you're going to do that. So the first thing you're going to do, step one, indicate you're interested in becoming a group leader by filling out this general join a group form. Right now it's for people who want to join, but it's also got a little section down here. And let me see if I can just share, stop sharing that, and I will share my desktop here so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. So when you click that link, you'll end up on this page on the Leadership Institute. You'll be able to fill out your information and then indicate what group you're interested in joining or leading, and then indicate here whether you are a student, a group leader, or a personal mentor for a student. You can write down your time availability. So if I get an email that you have indicated your interest as a leader and you said I can meet Tuesday evening, if that slot's available, we'll approve that for you. And then you're going to click online. Most of you have done that already, so you don't need to do that again if you've already done that. Second thing you'll do is you'll just shoot us an email at institute@disciplebuilding.org. Buddy, is that live and good to go?
I will have to look into that.
Okay.
I noticed you have institute spelled wrong there.
I did. So I'm going to fix that. Institute.
So, in spite of it being misspelled, the answer is no.
So you can email us there. You can also input your desired group here, and that will open our lovely spreadsheet. So far, what we have is Rain leading Getting Started for international people, especially Asia, Saturday at 7 to from 7 to 8:30. Excuse me, Rain, can you clarify if that's AM or PM?
Either of the two.
Okay, either of the two. So it's up to you. You can have either. Actually, could you take PM now that I'm seeing that?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. And will that be your time or our time?
Your time.
Our time. Thank you. That's very considerate of you to put it in our time. Keep my brain working. And Linda will be leading Tuesday at 2 p.m. Getting Started. Mary McKeever is leading a Knowing God group, and I would like to put some international folks in your group, Mary, since you can understand pretty well. And so that'll be Fridays. Bill Wheat, Knowing God on Tuesdays, 6:30 p.m. Understanding People, Kelly Romine, Thursday at 1:30. That'll be a good group. IO will be Wednesday evenings, Understanding People. Angela, Growing Spiritually, and she has not indicated what time yet. I don't know about the School of Ministry Accelerator. I haven't talked with Tim yet. Tia and Ellen Patricia, are you guys co-teaching? Ellen and Tia, or are you willing to lead a separate group?
I'm actually quite open for both, but I also put here for life coaching, so whichever that is needed.
Very good. Good, good. And I got a screaming kid in the other room. Just a minute.
Hey, Nate, Tia had an emergency, and so she won't be on the call.
Okay. So Ellen, I'll probably create a separate healthy relationships group with you leading it. And I'll probably populate it with some people who are a bit closer to your time zone, just in case we have any issues there. So you can pick a time that's convenient for you, and we'll take registrations for that if that's okay.
Sure, sounds great. Thanks, Nate.
Good, good. So go ahead and when you open that spreadsheet next time, just add another column and put yourself on a slot that works well for you. Mike Wolf will be leading ministry principles. Dave and I developing new leaders accelerator. Buddy and Sean will be doing a life coaching. And Ellen said that she'd be willing to do a life coaching seminar as well. So if any of that information is wrong or you'd like to add something to that, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so that link is in the document. Next step, we will approve your group and start promoting it from our end. So after today's call, we'll take the info on the sheet that you've provided, and we will begin promoting these as open groups that people can register for and join. If you do want to form a closed group, you can do so. But for the priority for use of our Institute at Disciple Building Zoom account will go to those who are leading open groups. So if New Hope wants to do a New Hope group on Zoom, that's fine. But if they want to use our Zoom account, they won't be prioritized for use of that account. So, but we're happy to have them do that, and probably best overall if they just use their own Zoom accounts and do it their own way.
Got another misspelling there on Institute.
Oh man.
And also we're saying, as far as the New Hope folks go, that we'd love for you guys to lead open groups on our Zoom account.
Yeah,
just to clarify there.
that would be our preference.
Nate, have we determined a maximum number of people per type of group, depending on what the subject is?
Yeah, our optimal size for standard groups is still going to be 5 to 8. I think that would still hold for any of our standard groups. The accelerator groups, I think, can be quite large because they will be more webinar formats groups that'll be 30 to 45 minutes lecture and about 20 to 30 minutes for discussion. So those could be up to 100 people. So
I'm not certain whether, are you planning to manage 100 people on Zoom?
I'm planning to give you the management of that. We'll see. This is all a work in progress, but yeah, well, that's the maximum that Zoom allowed. So we'll see how it goes.
I say we did a pretty good job with 25 people today on our prayer time. And I think that might be the maximum number I would like to start with, and then consider expanding from there.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, if we got 100, that would be a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And maybe we could have 2 groups then if we, ended
Sure.
up with 100 just at different times. I'd also love to see us just go ahead and expand that number for the smaller groups to 8 to 10.
Okay.
Because, with the whole virus thing, like, we don't know if everybody will be able to get on every week and all that stuff.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that if you feel you can manage that group. The next step, the one other thing that I did want to just remind you of is we do really enjoy having international folks on our calls. I am going to vet our international registrants to make sure that they have strong English and that they have a strong internet connection. Both of those things can become a distraction. If they don't have good English or they don't have a good internet connection, it can be a bit of a distraction. So I will try to vet that in some way before placing them in your groups. But overall, if the connection and the English is good, I think you'll find some of our international friends to add a very rich perspective on the materials. So, and a lot of life in those groups. So if you don't want that for any reason, just let me know and I'll accommodate your request. Step 2, schedule your first Zoom meeting. And again, the Zoom software can be downloaded here. You all have that already. Open Zoom on your computer, log in using these credentials. And I did spell Institute right on that one.
Yay.
WDA, caps, all caps, WDA, R caps, 1974, exclamation point, because we're so excited about this. So at that point, we're asking people to go ahead and watch the tutorial video. I have the wrong link here, but these are a number of tutorial videos, and this one is called Schedule a Meeting with Zoom. So you can use that for scheduling your first meeting. So I'm not going to train people how to use Zoom in this document. I'm asking people to go ahead and go watch those videos. Meetings are 75 to 90 minutes in length, should be set as recurring. We are going to use passwords. That is Keon's recommendation, that we all use passwords. And my recommendation is that we set a standard password as WDA, all caps. Keep it simple. That way, if I need to hack into your group, I can join your group and I don't need to know the password. So if that's okay for you, we'll just all use WDA as our password.
Okay, Nate, say that again. You want WDA R caps? Like, does
No,
it matter?
just the letters WDA.
Okay.
Can be
In caps, not R caps.
all caps WDA. Yeah, all capital letters. So there's a few options, as you've probably seen. If you've scheduled a Zoom meeting before, it comes up with a screen full of options, and you'll want to be sure to make sure that the defaults as the host video and participant video are on, and the waiting room is disabled. If you really want to use the waiting room, you can, but if you have people using passwords, we feel that's enough security and you can use the waiting room at your discretion or not. I don't. Meetings should be set to record automatically to the cloud. And these videos we'll use for training our leaders. I'll periodically review a video of you leading and give any input or feedback. And with your permission only, we may use these as training videos for the future. If you do a great job teaching through your lesson and we want to share it with the world, if we get your permission, we would love to use some of those videos on our website in the future so that people can use those. So we won't use the group discussion portions necessarily. Mostly we're just looking for the teaching portion of each lesson. And then again, to invite people, you'll click on the Meetings tab in Zoom, select Meeting, and click Copy Invitation, and then paste that into an email to all of your students. I like to create a WhatsApp group, especially internationally. It seems everyone uses WhatsApp. And so I create a WhatsApp group, and then anytime a meeting is starting, I just quickly paste it into that dialog box in WhatsApp. You could also create a Facebook group or a text thread so that you can easily communicate with everybody between sessions, as well as right before a session. You can send a reminder to everyone. So step 4 is prepare for your first lesson. You will want to do some preparation work. Especially if you're doing an accelerator, you'll be doing some teaching. Even in the standard small groups, you'll do some teaching, but it won't be as much teaching. In the accelerator groups, the leaders should try to use WDA teaching outlines wherever possible. And we did have this question before, but I'll just remind you that the outline is a skeleton. But you'll need to go through the outline, look up the scriptures, make sure you're familiar with them. change any of the examples to personalize it for your own context. You can shuffle around the information. We just ask that you not change any of our core philosophy or theology. We ask that you not use the sessions to maybe harp on a pet soapbox theologically or politically or any other sort of agenda. We just, we trust you guys, and we know you're not going to do that. And so it goes without saying, but we do want to stay true to the message. But within that context, we want you to make it yours. We want you to make it personal, to share your own stories, your own examples, your own scriptures, whatever comes to mind. And so use that teaching outline to build your talk. Also, we have PowerPoints available, thanks to Bill Wheat, for phase 1 and 2 and parts of phase 3. I have some PowerPoints available for phase 4, and I will try to make those PowerPoints available on the website so you can access them directly. If for some reason they're not available on the website, you can get them by emailing me, and I can send you links to those PowerPoints as well as to all the teaching outlines. So accelerator courses will cover an entire book per session. So this is for Dave. You and I will be covering an entire book for every session. And that means that we'll have to take the teaching outlines that we have for that book, which is probably several hours of teaching, and we'll have to condense it down to 30 to 45 minutes. We'll touch on the most salient points, and our hope is that teaching through it will give people a hunger to go back and read the book and study it for themselves. It's just designed to be an overview talk. In our standard discussion-based groups like Cornerstone groups, we're asking students to, as much as possible, read the pocket principle ahead of time and come ready to discuss the lesson. You will have to do a quick review, and you can use PowerPoints and teaching outlines to do a very brief, maybe 20-minute review, 15, 20-minute review of the key questions. That way, if anyone hasn't done the reading or is struggling for some reason, then you can use that. And good. And Bill just sent a reminder that pressing the space bar will not unmute you. And so if you want to unmute yourself, just click your unmute button there on your screen. So the other thing that you'll need is just to review for the standard groups, review the guided discussion portion of each lesson ahead of time, and each scripture portion. Highlight key questions. You're not going to have time to get through an entire guided discussion in each lesson. And so you want to pick one, probably just have time for one question from each section where, getting started. What do we call that? Looking at the word, looking at real life, looking at my life. The hook, book, look, took. You'll probably have time for one, maybe two questions from each one. My main priority that I want to emphasize to you is that I want to be sure that you get to the looking at my life portion for every lesson. If you do nothing else, at least study one scripture and do the looking at my life portion so everybody has a takeaway. And if there's a trust level in the group to do this, I really challenge people to articulate back to the group what's one thing that you plan to do to apply this in your life this week. And then if we really have a good group, we'll check back in and we'll say, how did it go? Did you do that thing you said you were going to do last week? Because we're really looking for transformation rather than just information. Step 5, you're going to begin your first group. Do find a private location. I'm not modeling that very well. I'm in my family room right now. But I actually have gone to my car to get privacy in past meetings if I really need privacy hidden in my car. Log into the Zoom account using institute@disciplebuilding.org. We're asking people not to use their personal accounts for these groups, but to use our account. Select the meeting in the meetings tab and click start. And then in my account, it automatically copies to my clipboard the meeting invitation. And then I will open up an email or a WhatsApp message, and I'll send it quickly to everyone and say, hey, the meeting is open. Please join as a reminder, in case they lost the email for any reason. Do ask your students to mute themselves on entry, and you can set that automatically, and to keep themselves on mute when they're not speaking. Also ask them to keep their cameras on unless there is an internet connection issue, in which case they can conserve bandwidth by turning their cameras off. But I am really just enjoying seeing your face and making sure that you're all paying attention, and you all are, so well done. So it is good for us to be able to see each other's face. Now here's a few quick words about leading your group and then finishing your group. Then we'll open it up for some discussion. You're going to open in prayer and just briefly introduce yourself. I think in a minute or less, and then if the group size allows, you can ask each student to do the same. The accelerator courses, we're not going to be able to do that. But the accelerator courses should be the majority. I think about 70% will be teaching and about 30% will be group discussion. And again, if a PowerPoint is available, you can share your screen and walk people through the PowerPoint. And that'll be a good professional way of presenting the material. If there's no PowerPoint available, you can share your teaching outlines or student outlines if you have them. If none of those are available, then just have students take notes during your talk. And do stop periodically to ask for questions and reflections. It's a bit boring to just listen to someone talk straight for 45 minutes. So if you can, open it up for dialogue throughout the teaching time, if that's comfortable for you. Standard discussion-based groups, we typically ask people to do about 20% the facilitator talking and 80% the group talking. You might need to do a little more talking than that since these are online groups and you don't know if people have done their reading between sessions. And so in order to review, you might end up spending more like 30-40% of the time talking and just doing review with the students. But do emphasize the discussion portion of each session. We want everyone to get a chance to contribute to these conversations. There is just a very minuscule lag time with Zoom, and that causes sometimes for people to not know who's talking and to speak over each other and to feel a little uncomfortable. You may have situations where we find the best thing to do is just to call on people one at a time and ask them to respond to the questions. That's a bit awkward, but it's a little bit hard when you have longer lag times to know who's talking. And so the facilitator can use just the call on people method to make that flow a little more naturally. But by all means, if you've got a good discussion flowing and people are free to talk, just make sure that people are all able to share evenly. If you've got 2 or 3 people dominating the conversation, just draw out people who aren't speaking and encourage, equal sharing in the group. And again, emphasize the personal reflection portion in looking at my life. Finally, at the end, you're just going to remind students about what you're going to cover next week, any homework that's going to be covered, any logistical issues, pray to close, and then click the button leave, and then end meeting for all. And that will, unless you want people to be free to continue the conversation after you leave, end meeting for all will kick everyone off the call. You can actually also manually remove people by clicking over their picture on the 3 lines, and there's an option for remove participant in that menu. And yes, buddy, this Word document will be shared with the group. I attached it to the email yesterday. So once I edit it, I will send another attachment. So end meeting for all, and then you're going to manually log out. Once or twice, I've had an issue where I've gotten kicked off a call by somebody else logging on to the account. And so you don't want to kick off any of the other trainers. And so log out of of the Zoom accounts, and then try to stay out of Zoom until your next meeting. Unless you need to schedule a meeting, just be conscientious of logging in and potentially kicking off another meeting.
Hey, Nate, and we might want to like not be able to continue to leave our meeting open even if the discussion is going well, because we won't know if we're, bumping up against another meeting.
That's
So
true.
we probably should all end our meetings,
Yeah.
at the time we're scheduled.
Yep. And the spreadsheet will have the schedule, so you'll be able to see who has scheduled meetings when. We'll try to keep that sheet updated. One final thing I do want to really, really emphasize and request that you do, once your group has completed, all your sessions are done, and if possible, it's great to do this in the session itself, taking time, giving people time to go and do this. If not, just please emphasize that we want every student to complete this form, the WDA training and small group feedback form. It's a very simple form, and it gets impact numbers for all of our students. And so have them fill out that form, and then you as a teacher, please also fill out that form, and under comments, just tell us, how did it go? How is your group? And what can we do to make the process easier and more streamlined for you as a trainer in the future? Then delete recurring meeting from Zoom, and then let us know by filling out the form or just sending us an email that your group is done. And any feedback you have, we highly value. So that's what we have so far for best practices in leading a meeting. And now I'll open it up to the group for comments, questions, snide remarks, anything else.
Great job, Nate.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So my question is, I'm assuming that you or Kelly will send us the names and contact information for each of our group members, but about how long do you think before our group starts, and what would be our individual start date?
Yeah, so we're shooting for start dates at the end of this month. And so the week of April 24th is when we're hoping to get all the groups started. So that'll give us a week and a half to prepare, to get registrations and let people know.
So you will send us then, as a group registers, are you going to, are we going to wait for 8 to 10 people? Say we only have 2 people registered for my group. Are we going to delay that start date until we get 8 to 10? And then when I send them that message, how much time are we thinking people are going to need to be prepared to say, okay, I'm going to be in this group and it's going to start on this date?
Well, yes, we're going to send registration lists to you, and we're going to try to do that as close to a week ahead as possible, so you can reach out and email your group participants. These start dates, since they start in 10 days, you may be getting some last-minute students. You will be getting last-minute students. For a group that's really small, we don't want to waste your time as a facilitator. And so it's going to be up to your discretion if you want to go ahead with a group of 3 or just wait until there's a larger group. Probably our standard procedure would be to say, let's wait till we have a group of at least 5 to start the group, unless the facilitator comes back and says, no, I'd really like to go ahead with a smaller group. Does that sound good?
Yes, and one other thing, is there a specific link to an individual material? Like if I'm doing Cornerstone or if I'm doing Getting Started, when I email my participants, could I include a link directly to that material for them so they won't be trying to, figure out where it is in the midst of all of our materials?
Absolutely. And to do that, you're just going to go to WDAinstitute.com and grab the link from your individual course, and then send them the link. And so under Cornerstone, since you're doing Getting Started, you just grab that PDF, and you can click the link here, copy it, and paste it into an email browser, or you can just send them to the Cornerstone webpage, WDAinstitute.com/Cornerstone.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Our desire is that everybody should already have signed up for the Leadership Institute anyway if they're sending us a request to be part of an online group. So you should first consider pointing them to the site, WDA leadershipinstitute.com, have them go there, and then you can tell them to go to whichever course they're part of, and they can find the PDF there. That's the way we prefer it.
Well, actually, and that's I'm going to require that. I'm requiring that all students register on the site, even if they are not logging into the site regularly. We want to know who they are and what they're taking, and that'll give us their email info and allow us to stay in touch with them. So even if you're just sending them a PDF, we would really like it if they registered on the Leadership Institute website and downloaded that PDF rather than having you email them the PDF. Ask them to download it for themselves by registering and then going to the course and downloading it. Any other questions?
Hi, Nate. This is Ayo.
Hey, Ayo.
Yeah, how are you going to make the PowerPoint slides available?
My intention is to add them as a second button under each book. I'll have a button called PowerPoint, and people will be able to open that and scroll through them and download them straight from the website. With Bill's permission, I'll make those available to you guys, if that's okay.
And can you edit that by yourself if you have needs for that?
I'm sorry, can I what?
I mean, if I have the need to edit my PowerPoint, is that okay?
Oh, if you want to teach your own personal PowerPoint?
No, if I want to edit it, if I want to adjust it a little bit.
Yeah, because you'll be editing your teaching notes. And so you want to edit the PowerPoint to match. Of course, you'll just want to download it and then edit it on your own computer and then share your screen with your students so they can see your PowerPoint.
Awesome. Thank you.
But that also opens it up where the students can download the PowerPoint prior to the discussion?
Correct. Would that be okay?
A good idea. I don't know that that's a good idea.
Okay.
So the PowerPoint is relevant to both students and teachers, right?
Well, both students and teachers, but say more about that, Bill, because I'm wide open.
I think I think that when you're making your presentation, you may want to show the information for the first time to the student during the presentation.
Exactly.
Not have them read ahead in your PowerPoints and maybe come to the wrong conclusion.
Exactly.
Well, since and you guys seem to agree on that, and I'm wide open to that. So if that's okay, then what I'll do is send the link to the Google Drive, or maybe it's Dropbox, that Buddy sent me of all the PowerPoints, and we'll make that available to just our trainers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Nate, just make sure people understand that if they try to download everything all at once, it's going to take a while. So you might need to give yourself some time to download that PowerPoint, maybe one at a time, because some of them are larger than others.
Right. If there's not a PowerPoint for something and you want to use the teaching outline to make us a lovely PowerPoint, that would be a gift to us. So.
One other thing you might want to test ahead of time is some of the slides have animations in them.
Right.
So depending on how you're bringing up PowerPoint, if you're bringing up PowerPoint in an edit mode, which I've seen on some other Zoom presentations, the animation will not work. If you're actually running PowerPoint, then you need to make sure that you run PowerPoint within the window that you're actually sharing.
Okay. Yeah, good word.
So I just mentioned, if any of you would like to try that with someone, I'm available. I'm not available just 24/7, but we could set up a time to try that if you're uncomfortable with how that might work. So if you'd like a guinea pig, I'll be your guinea pig.
Yep.
Same here. Without going into too much detail, I'm at home in quarantine, so I have plenty of time to assist anybody. And that is, I have my question is, we have the fill out the form if you're interested in leading a group, but then we also said that we could respond in the spreadsheet and put our names on classes. Which is the more preferable way that it be done?
If I don't know you and I don't I don't know anything about you, it'll be good for you to do both, to fill out the form, and then I can get in contact with you and begin to vet you. If I see a name that I don't know on that spreadsheet, then I'll wonder, who is that? How can I get in touch with them and see if they're actually qualified to lead this group? So yeah, so do both.
So Nate, just so you know, I've been forwarding your messages to Ken. Ken's a part of the New Hope leadership team in life coaching. So like anybody that is on this call has in some way been vetted.
Yeah, I don't think we've sent this invitation to anyone who's not qualified. So everyone in this group, is totally qualified for that.
So I have a question. If we sign up to lead a class, then we just put what time works for us, and then you guys will bring the students from online? Okay.
You'll just want to make sure in that spreadsheet that your time doesn't conflict with anyone else's.
Okay.
So first come, first serve on that.
Right.
Good to see you, Shannon.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on with us last minute. That's great. Okay, you guys have any other questions or comments or thoughts on best practice, things that need to be added to this document?
Yeah, I actually have a question. If I noticed that there's amount of weeks allocated to materials, just wondering how strict is that? Is it flexible or
It is flexible within your own group. That's the amount of weeks is dependent on the amount of lessons in each book. But within the context of your group, if you say, we'd really like to take a little extra time for some of these guided discussions, you're welcome to do that. If your group agrees to do a longer group, like a 2-hour group instead of a 90-minute group, that's fine if everyone agrees to that. Just notate that on the spreadsheet to make sure that we keep that slot open for you. But when we're advertising the groups, we want to advertise them, as the number of weeks that are in the lesson. The only exception to that is if you wanted to lead an accelerator group and do 1 book per week, that would be a much faster group. But if you wanted to do a slower group, you just want to get the permission of all your group members to do that.
Okay, thank you, Nate.
Yeah, thank you.
One quick thing about best practice, when the first Restoring Your Heart online group I didn't know about gallery view on Zoom, and so I was in speaker view. And the thing that did was that when someone was talking, it really put them front and center, and you weren't as focused on looking at what anybody else might be doing. And it's just interesting. Sometimes, like in my first, like when I transferred from a in-person group to a Zoom group, some people were snacking, some people were looking at their phones. And so if you want to minimize that distraction, then you can use speaker view and everybody's just a thumbnail on either the top or the side, and the person who's talking is front and center. So I don't know how much we'll run into that with these groups, but we haven't given them like best practices as far as please don't look at your phones, please don't eat or drink, or the distractions in the background. There's